Welcome to the brighter side of education, research, innovation, and resources. I'm your host, Dr. Lisa Hassler, here to enlighten and brighten the classrooms in America through focused conversation on important topics in education. In each episode, I discuss problems we as teachers and parents are facing and what people are doing in their communities to fix it. What are the variables? And how can we duplicate it to maximize student outcomes? Today's episode is really special because my husband, Greg, is joining me today to discuss how we can maximize learning during December while still keeping our sanity, both as teachers and as parents. So, having been on both sides of this equation, we thought we'd share some practical tips to get through December. What do you think, Greg?
I think it's going to be a good episode. Let's go through some of the things that people should focus on to enjoy the season and get through. Yes. Every time I think of December, I start hearing this music and it's like Halloween hasn't even happened. It already gets me nervous about things to come. So there's a lot that goes on in December. And I know from a teacher's perspective, it can be overwhelming. Yeah, as a parent as well. I mean, the list is endless of things that we have to do. You know, there's a lot of stress, the holiday activities.
I look at, wow, okay, I've got 3 weeks between coming back from Thanksgiving and putting on that holiday play or concert and getting them through the door to holiday break. And that's all people are thinking about is holiday break, honestly. It's like, how many weeks until Christmas break, right?
Yeah, with the parents, I mean, there's added holiday activities. The kids' end of semester or quarter is coming. They have exams. The extracurricular activities are still there. So, add on all the extra after school stuff with concerts and performances and parties. And this time of year can really be tough.
Yeah, I think it can. And I think we forget sometimes about the kids and the anxiety that they may be having or the overwhelming feeling of this is all on them as well. And so we have to start thinking about what are the big stressors and figuring out how do we balance that so that we can all really enjoy the season for what it's supposed to be. And that is, love and cheer and giving and this moment of enjoying each other and not so much about the stuff, yet a lot of it is added stuff.
So from a teacher's perspective, what do you think are the big things that teachers have to deal with right now, like specifically?
So for me, I'm coming back from Thanksgiving. I have 3 weeks until Christmas break. I would think about I have to balance learning with their excitement. So you're going to do a lot of theme-based things, but then also the stressors of after-school concerts that are going to be in my schedule. I have to plan for. I've got to plan for missed lessons and how to balance their learning because they're going to be practicing for these things. There's the fun days. And so remembering to keep track of all those fun days and making sure I've got the supplies.
I mean, there's always parties, I'm sure.
So many parties. It's like, hey, today is Polar Express Day. Today is the Grinch Day. We're wearing pajamas. We have red and green. We have to think about candy canes and Santa's coming to visit the school. And there's, oh my goodness, don't even get me started on Off the Shelf.
Yeah, I'm sure that the list is endless. So from a teacher, do you have any tips that would help a teacher plan ahead and get ready for this time of year?
Yeah, so I just had to look at it head on and say, how am I going to plan and over prepare for this season? I know I've got this amount of days. And so I would pull out that school calendar and I would write down on a piece of paper in the month of December every single thing that I had to do, whether that was concert's going to be this time, practice is going to be at this time. And of course, those things add and change, but getting it all down in front of me felt doable. And then it was like, all right, I know when the red and green day is going to be. And I would make sure that then my plans, as I did a scope and sequence, fell into place with those things. So then I had a doable, feasible plan of how I was going to make it through.
Yeah, I'm sure it got to be a lot for you.
It really was. What I would end up doing then is once I'd get that scope and sequence all done and I knew what I was going to do, I could start planning for it. Now I knew, okay, I'm going to go to the grocery store. I need to make sure I've got 35 candy canes, right? Oh, candy canes are there. Great. Throw them in the cart. So I've got my list and I'm just going to work off of that.
And parents love those projects. Oh. I mean, you got to have a good project that lasts forever.
Yes, you really do. You've got to make sure that you are planning with the parent in mind as well. You know, are these projects going to be something that's going to be an added bonus to the family or an added stressor?
I mean, the kids still have those ornaments with their pictures on them, and they still put them up on the tree every year, and it's a wonderful part of the year that I love to look forward to.
Yeah, so you can't skip the parent ornament gifts. That seems to be a fan favorite.
As a teacher, make sure they're worthwhile. Make sure they're really good.
That's right. Don't skip those ones. So when you're planning, get those ones in. I always did it with themed books. So I would look at my standards and pick holiday themed books, and I would wrap them into my plans and then make sure that I had a good art project to go along with it that many times was a Christmas ornament for the parents.
Yeah, because if you can integrate the educational aspect and the theme, I mean, you can really get a lot done and still have a lot of fun for this time of year.
Yeah, engaging those kids can be tough, so you got to go with it. Just embrace the holiday spirit because that's all they're thinking about. So it's all right, you're going to want to do holiday read aloud, group projects, holiday thematic units for cross-curricular integration, and making sure then that you're double dipping as much as possible. Like I said, grab out those holiday books and make an ornament out of it. My absolute favorites were Jan Brett and Tommy DePaula, only because there were so many holiday books that they had that you could tie into different standards.
I mean, you're talking science and math and...
Right, yes. And you could also get a lot of valuable projects out of it. Like Tommy DePaula had a great one about the history of trees. And so you could tie in, how did we start this tradition? When did ornaments come along and lights? So we would do a tree ornament project then. Jan Brett did a great one with reindeers and polar bears and wonderful countdowns for Christmas and different cultural things that you could tie in with that as well. So you can get a social studies perspective. So I think that those always brought the kids a lot of joy. And then turning special days into valuable lessons. So, we were in Catholic school, so it was something like a Santa Lucia Day. Well, now I can learn about Swedish Christmas traditions. Now you're bringing in a cultural tie. So it could be something that we can learn about other cultures with. And of course, Christmas around the world was always a fun one. So having that equity, foods, diversity, yes, those were always really valuable. And the kids remember those days because it's something different and they like learning about each other.
And I'm sure you have to get the parents involved because we need something to do. So as a parent, we have to help set up parties and help make sure that we're taking some of the load off of the teachers because there's a lot going on that we don't think about. Yes, we have our own things to deal with, like Christmas shopping and getting the house ready for the holidays, but we want to make sure that the kids are on track. We're keeping good eyes on them. Are they staying healthy? Are they sleeping enough? Are we keeping to a good schedule? I mean, maintaining a home routine has got to be super important this time of year because it gets away so fast and the kids are so excited. I don't remember sleeping half of the month of December when I was a kid because you're always worried, okay, am I doing enough good things to be on Santa's good list or am I on the naughty list? And I'm sure the things that we think about as parents are not the same things that the kids are thinking of. So we really need to keep track of, how are they doing? Do they look good? Are they in a bad mood? What else can we do to keep them on track?
Definitely. And there were so many things that you said there that I'd like to come back and visit. Like when you're talking about parents being involved, I think that teachers really need to not be afraid to ask parents for help, just for extra hands in the classroom, even sending home materials for them to prep because they're not able to take off of work, but they would love to do something maybe at home. So thinking about hey, can you make goodie bags or ways that they can just be involved in the classroom? And so don't be afraid to ask. I think that's really valuable. I learned that they really enjoy that. I think it's harder to ask than it is to receive when it comes to that because you're going to find out that you're going to have a lot of people excited about it. Also with donations, with project items, as long as it's reasonable and timely. You don't want to dump something onto parents the night before. And then if we had something special, I would send those reminders home to the parents. There's a lot of different ways that we communicate nowadays, but one of my favorite was a teacher that I had worked with. She used to just type it out on paper, print it, then cut strips and make bracelets on children's wrists. And when I started doing that, I saw that the kids thought it was really great because they had a little bracelet to go home with a little reminder. And they showed the parents as soon as they got in the car. And so that one worked really well. Like, hey, picture day is tomorrow. So if you just say, tomorrow is pajama day, now you've got it around your bracelet, they're not going to let their parents forget.
Yeah, and the parents, as soon as they see their kid, they're going to be like, what is that bracelet? What is that all about?
That was one of my favorite.
And going back a second, you talked about the communication.
Oh, yeah.
I think the parent-teacher communication has to be above and beyond this time of year. I'm sure with technology now, there's calendars out. As a parent, we need to make sure that we're going through those calendars to make sure that we have things on our schedule that meet what the teacher needs. And there's a lot of times where we kind of say, oh, we'll just look at it the next day. I don't think that's a good idea this time of year, and you can kind of go over why.
Yeah, well, I also think a lot of kids have phones these days, and so it's something that you can add to like a family calendar. So if you're going to add something on there, whether it's a special day or there's projects that are due, there's major tests that are going to happen, add those to the calendars because they're not only going to remind you as a parent, but then the kids too.
Yeah, last thing you need is the day before little Johnny coming up to you and saying, oh, Mom, don't forget I have this project due tomorrow.
Yeah, right. You don't need any more stress. So I think, utilizing those family calendars for those, just throw it all on there at this time of year really is helpful for everybody.
And a lot of kids have finals, exams, a little bit at an older age. And the end of semester is an important time for the kids to do well and still have fun.
Yeah. And so balancing that with making sure that you are giving them that normal routine you were talking about, but that is also said for the classroom. With all of those special days and changes in schedules, that can really be disruptive to children. And so we need to be mindful of making sure that as much as possible, staying to that normal routine. I found that really helpful. The kids would come in and I would have calm music playing and make the writing about the things that you were learning about when it comes to those thematic holiday traditions and celebrations. And so that was a good way to tie it in. But then making sure also that if we spent every, let's say Tuesday and Thursday, I did centers with the kids, language arts centers. Well, I'm still doing it for that hour at those times, just making it holiday themed. If I'm doing math and the math is always from 10 to 11, I'm going to continue to do that because then it's this feeling of comfort to them to know I'm still going to have math every day at this time. I'm still going to have deer time when I come back in for 20 minutes to have routines that they find comfort in.
And I'm sure that's just as important at home, making sure they're eating a healthy meal. I mean, who knows what candy and cookies and desserts they've been having
so much,
throughout
yes,
the
we're
season.
Just stuffing them full.
Right.
Parties can be crazy with that.
Right. I mean, you guys must get a ton of different desserts.
So much.
The kids must be probably pretty difficult to handle on such sugar.
And then sending them home like that as well. So they're like sick to their stomach. So whenever those special days would happen, I would have a lot of donations coming in of sweets. And one thing that I always did was I just kind of brought it down to a reasonable amount for children their age to consume. And anything more than that, I just kind of took a bunch of the extras. And if it was able to just be closed up or not even opened, put into the cabinet. And then the next day we could pull that out for a special snack where they could have like one cookie. So you really don't need for them to like load up on all of that hot chocolate and cookies and candy canes and chocolate sweets, because not only are they going to get sick and they're going to leave, but then also they're going home, and that's not helpful to anybody.
Yeah, we as parents appreciate that too. We don't want to have the kid come out of school and just crash for 3 hours and then be up all night.
Definitely. So I always did a nice healthy balance, and anything that I felt as though was just a little bit too much for a little belly to handle, as long as it could be kept later. I just didn't open up that package of Christmas Oreos. I just put them in the cabinet, and the next day or a couple days later, we could have a little afternoon treat with one cookie, and they're super excited to see it. And so that was always one of my big party tip. Keep those extras.
So as parents, going back to what we were saying before, stick to your schedule. Make sure you have their bags packed. Make sure you're staying ahead of their homework schedule. Plan ahead. I mean, that's the key with the calendars and using your devices to your advantage.
Yeah, definitely. And knowing your limit. I felt like, there were a lot of contests. There's the holiday decorating door contest, There's the elf on the shelf.
Is the elf still a hot item or still a thing in schools?
He was. And the last year I wanted to give him up so bad. I got to tell you, it took a lot for me to even get him in my classroom, because when I first started teaching, he didn't exist. And then I heard about him, and then it was a real pain to have to deal with, because if that elf didn't move, then everyone was upset about it, who touched him? And so it's just another added thing. So I find that if you can avoid the elf on the shelf, do it at all costs.
Or that had to be number one on your list of things to do every morning.
Get out. Yes, get it out. So if you could take away little things, I would suggest doing what you can handle reasonably. Yeah, knowing your limits. So don't go crazy with the door contest if you don't need to, if that's not within your realm.
Okay, so one question I have, we've talked about all these schedules and preparations, but I always like to look back and say, what was one of your favorite memories? What part of this season is your favorite as a teacher and a parent?
I never see you anymore. Come out the door.
Aw, she has tears in her eyes. I got her.
I think one of my favorite is, it was always a crazy night, and we would have the kids for way too long, and it would be like those Christmas concerts. But I had 30 first graders and my partner also 30 first graders. And every year we made them into angels, and we would make these white satin little robes for them and little garland halos.
They look like angels. They were your angels. I mean, you spend every day with them.
And so even though it was like nuts and, all the practice and everything, and, by the way, make packets for those and have lots of grab and go things in your folder, because those are unexpected times and you need to keep them busy during those practices. But boy, when you see it actually play out and you hear those little angelic voices, it just, it makes you really appreciate it.
Always one of my favorite times during this time of year is those Christmas concerts where the kids each have their opportunity to get up and sing and perform. And, I laugh now, but record them all, parents, because if you don't record them, then later on you can't pop them up and show them off right before your kids get married or before special events when they forget how wonderful this time of year is.
Yeah, and it really is wonderful. So amongst all of those things, people always have the best interest in mind. I want another party, or let's do this. I think knowing your limits and being able to have a good balance makes this time of year a little bit better. It makes it what it's supposed to be. Family and different religions, love and peace, and the gift of giving.
Yeah. This time of year is super overwhelming. So parents, keep to your schedule. Keep up with your children's learning. Use the time in the car, to make sure that they're practicing their math facts and doing a little bit of reading at maybe some quiet time at home. And like Lisa was just saying, have fun. These times are very memorable. Enjoy every second, and your kids will remember them too.
They definitely will. And so just to review some tips, those are kind of like my little hacks, is definitely plan and over prepare as much as possible. Get that calendar going, fill it all up, hang it up. Make sure that you've got those grab and go folders with extra skills and review sheets ready to go for those moments that are going to pop up, but you just don't know when. Embrace the holiday spirit. You just got to lean into it, and this helps the kids engage by just making those lessons as project-oriented, thematic, cross-curricular as possible that align with the standards. Those have always helped me, using holiday books to bridge a lot of different subjects and projects for art like Jan Bratton, Tommy DePaula, and making sure those special days turn into lessons. Don't go crazy with that whole elf on the shelf. Don't bring him into your classroom if you have a choice. This is my big advice. Ditch that dude. And then there's parents involved, ask for help. They are so willing to give it. Be as normal with your routines as possible, because if it's not for their sanity, it's for yours. Save those extra goodies, and after the party's over, clean up and prepare your bulletin board for January. I know you're going to hate me, but You're going to be thankful when you don't have to come back over your Christmas break.
And yeah, I think this is a great episode. I want to thank you again for having me on as a surprise guest. It's always an honor. It's an honor to be on your podcast. I mean, it helps so many people, and I hope everybody is listening and sharing these episodes with their friends as much as possible, because I hear every day the influence that it has in helping other people get through their educational journey. And you're doing an excellent job. So thank you for sharing a little bit of time with me on the mic. It's always nerve-wracking, but I love it. And thanks again.
Well, I think you're biased, but I appreciate it. Thank you. And everyone else, enjoy this time. It'll be January before you know it.
Enjoy the rest of the year.
Happy holidays. If you have a story about what's working in your schools that you'd like to share, you can email me at lisa@drlisarhassler.com or visit my website at www.drlisarhassler.com and send me a message. If you like this podcast, subscribe and tell a friend. The more people that know, the bigger impact it will have. And if you find value to the content in this podcast, consider becoming a supporter by clicking on the supporter link in the show notes. It is the mission of this podcast to shine light on the good in education so that it spreads, affecting positive change. So let's keep working together to find solutions that focus on our children's success.